Good evening, Pramod ji.
Good evening, Ji. Good evening, Ji. Good evening. क्या हाल चाल है?
Bilkul, such a pleasure seeing you and all your associates in this mission.
Nay, it's wonderful, Ji, to see you. And just trying to change my background. And thank you. I cannot thank you enough for all the effort that you have and all the help we've got from your entire group. It's been fantastic. I'll tell you, it's been unbelievable, Ji. There we go.
Not at all.
Can you still hear me?
And apologies from the Chief Minister. He's stuck in something that he was not able. Can still hear you? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Okay. So I was just saying apologies from the Chief Minister who is stuck in something he is not getting able to get out of, but he is trying to have that conversation as quickly as possible with us. Sorry for this for everyone's schedules.
Naiji, we understand, and that is one of the hazards of having the Chief Minister come and inaugurate this, I think. So if you'll indulge us, we'll change the order a little bit, and then I will come back in at that point in time again, but when he comes. I hope my voice is clear. Everybody can hear me clearly?
I can hear you loud and clear, and we will go entirely by your decision today.
You're very kind. Very kind. But the teams have been fantastic.
Do you want to grow your YouTube channel? Do you want to earn more views, more subscribers?
To start up, that's a little easier than part one. And I think what's exciting about what Pramod outlined is many of the sectors that Pramod mentioned, agriculture, food, clean energy, environmental tech, media, sports. These are all sectors of the future when it comes to startups. For a year and a half ago, we hadn't made a single investment in ag tech. Today, it's one of the most important sectors we're focused on. For the next decade, we're going to see hundreds of amazing startups emerging in the sector of agriculture. Most of those should come from the state. If there's any one state that could combine entrepreneurship and agriculture, so having many more startups starting Punjab, but I think it's going to be really important for you to find a way to keep them in Punjab, because it's one thing for them to start in Punjab. For instance, it's one company that I invested in 2006. Guess where they're based? They're based in Gurgaon. So I think what excites us is there's a lot of capital in India today. We're looking for exciting companies to invest in, and we'd love to come and invest in as many companies, amazing companies Punjab can create. And last thing I'd like to end with is, look, I think on behalf of many of the venture capital firms, I wanted to commit to all of you that we will be there in droves. Show us some amazing entrepreneurs, and we will come to your state, and we will come in large numbers, because, at the end of the day, as venture capitalists, we're really looking, we focus every single waking moment on one thing: find the best entrepreneurs, build legend. Thank you, Pramod, for having us. And again, super, super excited to be here with all of you, and can't wait to see what job is about to unleash on the entrepreneur world in India.
Rajan, thank you. So startup. Yeah. By the way, his own Twitter handle and whatever else he does, which I'm deeply unfamiliar with, is full. He gets to see more deals than almost anybody probably in India. And he is committed that he will come to Punjab as long as we show him good deals. And he carries a very fat checkbook. I just want you to make sure everybody knows that. But Rajan is a true friend. And Rajan, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. He's a true friend. We've known each other for years. And Rajan, this is exactly what we need. Thank you. I know you have to go. So please, thank you for being here with us. Yeah, really. Wonderful. With that, if I may turn to you, Kunal, for your talk at this time, please.
Thank you for having me, and Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Ahluwalia, Honorable Chief Secretary, Mr. Bhasin, co-panelists, friends. It is my privilege to share my thoughts today on the launch of Innovation Mission Punjab. The spirit of enterprise and ethos of Punjab are indeed two sides of the same coin. The incredibly hardworking Punjabis have made their mark around the world, and not only in agriculture, industry, and hospitality, but also in the startup space. In fact, my own company and my own startup's co-founder, Snapdeal's co-founder, and my good friend Rohit is from Malot. Another friend of mine, Dipinder, who's the founder of Zomato, is from Muktsar. Sachin and Binny Bansal, who had co-founded Flipkart, were born in Chandigarh. I too draw my roots to Punjab, although I was born in Delhi. There are numerous other stories of startup successes from Punjab, which continue to engage and inspire many others. So what is it that we can collectively do to unleash Punjab's potential, especially in the startup space? So here's my short take. I have 3 points to make. One is support from the state government is key. The startup ecosystem in India is broader today and is no longer clustered only in some select parts of the country. And no longer is it only a Bangalore-Delhi phenomenon. State government policies have been instrumental in strengthening local ecosystems. This is reflected in the high number of seed state startups we see in states like Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala. I have no doubt that the Punjab Innovation Mission, with its structured approach towards awareness building, curated mentorship, investor connects, and an innovation fund, what Pramod was referring to support early stage growth, early stage entrepreneurs in the state, will spur the entrepreneurial activity in Punjab. The second point is around curated mentorship. I can't emphasize the importance of mentorship. A decade ago, when I started our business, the concept of mentorship was quite nascent. In fact, startups were not even a phrase that were used. People thought that those who are doing startups didn't get a job. That's why they're doing a startup. The entrepreneurial ecosystem was still in its formative stages. Internet businesses were getting started, and most of the learning was obtained through doing something and just making lots of mistakes. However, over the years, mentorship has come to occupy an important place in the startup world. Mentorship is the fuel that drives Silicon Valley. And we have now seen similar mentorship ecosystems develop in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and other parts of the country where the startup ecosystem is strong. The success of Punjab's Innovation Mission will certainly be accelerated by the availability of high-impact curated mentorship. The Indian startup ecosystem has gone through cycles of building, learning, raising funds, success, and failure. The immense learning is available to the younger cohorts through other entrepreneurs, angel investors, venture capitalists, and other experienced professionals. A curated, well-managed mentorship program will connect young entrepreneurs with a pool of experienced mentors who understand key issues around building products, design thinking, developing business models, growing teams, building brands, raising capital, and much more. The third and final point I want to make is the importance of focus. Oftentimes, in similar discussions in other states, I found that states want to do everything, but there is tremendous value in focus. Nations and states are choosing to focus on certain sectors in order to catalyze and absorb innovation, but where they also feel they have a right to win. Israel, for instance, is known as a cybersecurity hub. UK and Singapore are hubs for fintech, financial services, technologies. Canada has chosen to invest behind advanced manufacturing and ocean industries. And like Rajan mentioned, I feel agri-tech or agricultural technologies is a natural growth area for Punjab, a natural area of focus. Market linkage platforms, quality assessment tools, personalized agri advice on crops, soil, weather, database agri financing, using drones. These are all increasingly digital tools that can be put to use and are becoming increasingly pervasive. Through this, they are eliminating information asymmetry, expanding market access, and making supply chains more efficient and transparent. I'm also particularly glad that the mission is also reaching out to the well-connected Punjabi diaspora to create meaningful avenues for them to engage with the mission, including through mentorship and scale-up support. I'm sure Punjab's innovation mission, led ably by Mr. Bhasin, will devise the best and the most suited modus operandi to fuel the innovation in Punjab. I'm quite excited personally to contribute to the same. Thank you.
Kunal, thank you very much. I have a few thoughts which I'd love to ask you about, just to dwell a little bit more on the points you were making. One, on the point of mentorship and how that should be framed from your perspective. Two, on the point of fear of failure and encouraging startups encouraging more people to get into startup. And so perhaps if I may ask you to indulge just a little bit about why and how you would have walked down this road, how you were okay. I will tell you, Vinity, this is interesting. When I was trying to start Jetpack, my mother called me up and said, son, why are you leaving GE? Why would anybody do such a stupid thing, to leave a big multinational to do a startup? And eventually she decided that I had been fired by GE, and that was my only course of action, was that I should, and therefore I would do this very stupid thing, which is to start a new business up. But Kunal, a few words on that, I would be grateful, and then I will turn to Prithika.
Yeah, I think it probably warrants a longer discussion. I don't want to take a lot of time from the panelists, but
no, we have a little more time actually, so that's fine.
Okay, got it. So on the point of mentorship, one of the things that some states have done or planning to do is essentially have a speaker series of various founders who can come and talk about their founder journeys, but put it in the context of industries that are relevant to the particular state. So for instance, agri-tech in the case of Punjab. I think a lot of founders in Punjab would likely find agricultural technology is quite relatable, given that many of them have grown up. I know Rohit and I, oftentimes as we were growing up together, we met 20 years ago in school, he would tell me all kinds of stories about, money lending to farmers and, all the crop related issues and the weather related issues and the pest related issues that farmers would face. But so many of those things can be addressed with technology now. And essentially creating forums where aspiring entrepreneurs who have ideas but don't know how to turn them into actionable plans or businesses or startups and don't know how to get past the cold start problem, just having mentorship sessions from those who have done it before is a tremendously effective way of addressing some of these challenges of getting off the ground for an ecosystem. So I would say that would be one very actionable idea that I would recommend embarking on to begin with.
Understood. Very good. Very good. Let me, with that, Kunal, thank you again. We will call on you for your mentorship for many of the startups. You have promised me that, and I will absolutely take you up on that, because we need your time and your effort. We won't waste your time. We will use it judiciously. But I think given the journey that you have been through, I think that would be extremely, extremely exciting to have you do that.
More than happy to. Thank you.
Pleasure. With that, Prithika, may I turn to you for your amazing story and as well as your thoughts on Punjab. Mantek, you weren't there when I was introducing her. She's one of our very young women entrepreneurs in Punjab with a great startup. She's spent time at Y Combinator, which is probably the world's most famous accelerator in the world. She's had a chance to do that. She has an amazing business, which, if we are very nice to her, she will send some socks, which she creates, which are quite wonderful. It's quite a remarkable business. But Pritika, may I turn it to you for your journey, because you're a live example of exactly who we would love to have and love to be able to work with in Punjab.
Thank you, Pramod, for having me here, and my heartiest congratulations on launching the Punjab Innovation Fund. In fact, I've always wished something like this existed way back because I was born and brought up in Chandigarh. I've spent my entire childhood in Chandigarh, and then I moved to US for my further education, and then I worked there with Bank of America and TripAdvisor before I started my entrepreneurial journey. And when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I moved back to Chandigarh. Well, people told me, why are you moving to Chandigarh? Go to Bangalore, go to Delhi, are you crazy? But for me, I told them, if my startup is going to grow, it is either going to grow in Chandigarh or we are going to move to Bay Area. These are the two places I love. So our US headquarters are in Palo Alto, and our Indian headquarters are in Chandigarh, still in Chandigarh. Entire team is in Chandigarh. So not only it is this place is a beautiful place to live, but also a beautiful place to grow your own startup. And when you when you look at the history, many startups, they came from places nobody knew, like Nike. It came from Oregon. Microsoft, it came from Seattle. And it really helped because when you are starting up, you really need to save money. And, if you're living in Bangalore, it's too expensive. You're living in San Francisco, very, very expensive. So in that respect, Chandigarh, it was not that expensive. And then access to talent, young people, young blood, and they're very passionate to get something on the plate. So I think that really helped us take the decision to start in startup and start in Chandigarh and stay in Chandigarh. And on top of that, I would say, as you also mentioned, Punjabis are entrepreneurial in nature. And second thing that I really like about Chandigarh or Punjab is people are quite global already. The aspirations are to build something for the world already. And in fact, I would encourage everybody, all the young people who are listening this, to actually start a venture when they are in college. It really teaches you a lot more than what you learn in classes. In fact, I started a venture. It was Book My Present while I was in college with a friend, and it didn't work, but I learned a lot. And why I didn't work was, I think, majorly because for any startup to grow, we need 3 M's: money, access to money, access to market, and access to mentorship, which was not there while I was in college. And I think that is what you are bringing to Punjab with your fund. And I think that is really going to help us, the young people in Punjab, to become the creators of future rather than just being the consumers of future. And I think that is something really, really helpful for all the young people out there. And thanks, Pramod, for this initiative, because while we raised funding, we did it from Silicon Valley. Had you been here earlier with this fund, I'm sure we didn't have to go anywhere, and we could have just come to you in Chandigarh and said, hey, we are doing this, why don't you invest? So yes, I think what you're doing is, the fund in itself is going to bring the right ecosystem for young entrepreneurs to flourish. There is, in today's time, we do not have any, we have a lot of access to capital, but the ecosystem is what is required. And with the fund, I think that is going to come to young people. And especially being a woman entrepreneur, I would say, yes, it is. People often ask me, how is it being a woman entrepreneur? Do you face difficulties, XYZ things? Like, it is a little harder. Okay, but I think we Punjabis, we are outgoing. We become friends very easily. And for women in Punjab, yes, there are certain societal issues because of which we don't get to carry on our careers for a long time, XYZ. But I think in today's time, you really don't need to go out. You can start a company with just your laptop. So this is the right time for women to come up and take up entrepreneurship as a career. So thanks a lot, Pramod, for bringing these opportunities to this part of the world because I think the talent is absolutely there. It was just the ecosystem which was missing. And with what you and the government, we are doing, I'm sure in next 5 years, yes, we are going to be the top 3 places to start a startup.
Wonderful, Pratika. Wonderful. I'll get on to a little bit of the questions, but I wanted you to just perhaps, as we had discussed, talk a little bit about your own journey to build your business. How did you get the idea? Why were you brave enough? How did you manage to do it? Because I really want that to be an inspiration to a lot of women around who may be listening in.
Okay, so my background is really not into socks or textile or anything. I am a coder. In fact, I'm a data scientist. And if you ask my parents, they would be like, kahan you are selling jurabe bech rahe ho aap? Like you were a coder. So my journey was really like since childhood, I've always loved coding. So I started coding when I was 14, and I've always loved art. So because the euphoria you get when you create something is just enormous for me. And somewhere, I used to hear a lot of stories of people becoming rich while running a business, and also creating something that, people can use. So somewhere it was there in my heart that I want to create something that could go into millions of homes. And while, I did coding and data science, XYZ, but on the back of my mind, I knew that I'm just going to do this job for maybe a few years and then run my own venture. So the idea of Soxoho was like, yes, I was in Manhattan and I used to observe, all these dapper men in their black, white, gray suits. They were quite similar. But one thing stood out to me, and those were their bright colored designer socks. And whenever I used to come back to Chandigarh, I used to bring it for my cousins, for my friends. And whenever I used to plan my visit, they used to ask, don't bring me chocolates, get me these socks. So then I started observing the gap that exists in the men fashion market. So what we observed was the current brands, they were not really catering to the millennial men. And we thought, okay, this is the gap we can cater to. There were many brands in the West, but not in India. So we said, okay, let's get into this market, the men fashion market, and how to start. So again, that was very analytical, but how we found out was socks is something that men could use it as an accessory. Like, we women, we wear jewelry. Even it is a very small component of our attire, but it is very important for us. The same way, socks have now become very important for men. So that's how we launched. We tested it and it worked really well. And we launched in 2019. Last year, we got into Y Combinator in Silicon Valley, and we raised funding from some of the top entrepreneurs, including the founder of Tinder, Justin Khan. And since then, we have been scaling and growing.
What a wonderful story. It makes my hair stand on end to hear it. And we need 1,000 people like you to bloom, Pritika. And you have to be the power to fuel 1,000 women's ambitions as you go forward. I know it's probably not what you were thinking about when you decided to go and sell socks or sell jurabe, as your mother said, but that is a position you'll end up in. And I think it's a marvelous, marvelous story, wonderfully exciting. I also think by the way, I wanted, in full disclosure, I did offer to fund her, and Manoj, she said, thank you, let me come back to you, which shows you exactly where she's sitting right now, which is the joy. Entrepreneurship is so much more difficult than giving money out. I've been a banker, an investment banker, and equity owner. That's easier. Rajan isn't here, so I can say this. That's easier than, and Manoj has run businesses, so he knows. It is so much harder to do a startup. And that's, after all, what you've done. So congratulations. Thank you for being here. We count on you as we go forward. And we count on your example to be able to share it with the rest of Punjab and bring more investment here. Manoj, may I turn to you? I know the CM is running later, I think, Viniji, at this point in time. He has his hands full, but we will carry on and do what we can as we wait for him. But Manoj, may I turn to you, please? We would, again, appreciate your presence here. You're both someone who has run very large businesses here in telecom in Africa, as well as now, of course, with SoftBank as an investor. handling some of the biggest portfolios of companies across India. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Pramod. I'm delighted to be here today. Honorable Chief Minister, Vinny Montekji, really I'm delighted to be here because I am son of Punjab. Sat Sri Akal to everyone. Let me introduce. My mother comes from Lahore. My father comes from Rawalpindi. And we first came on partition to Amritsar. I was, of course, born in Delhi later. And then from Amritsar, we moved to Jalandhar, and from Jalandhar, we moved to Delhi. That's where I was born. But it's close to my heart. And working for 20 years in telecom and in leading Airtel for so many years, from 1 million to 400 million customers, I think I felt like a Punjabi going across the world because we did it in 20 countries. And Sunil, of course, is one of the biggest entrepreneurs of India and from Punjab. Pawan Munjal, so many great entrepreneurs have come from Punjab. So I think great initiative. I really congratulate all the supporters of this initiative of Innovation Mission Punjab. I think it will build a resurgent Punjab again, and how timing may be very, very appropriate. Viniji, the timing is so good because today the majority of the growth momentum and majority of investment, I'll say, comes from startups. And the startups can play a major role in attracting investments, creating jobs, and of course, wealth creation, which Punjab, like any other state, need. Now, why is Punjab very appropriate? And I don't want to talk about why it's missed out compared to Bangalore or Gurgaon, etc., but why it's appropriate. Firstly, the entrepreneurial nature of Punjab. And Pramod is absolutely right. Punjabis don't like to do jobs. They don't like to work for others. They like to work for themselves and really become entrepreneurs, build large corporations, large businesses. Secondly, the talent is great. I meet Punjabi talent across the world. Let me tell you, I work in Tokyo, I work in London, in San Francisco, in New York, in Miami, and so many places. I meet so many Punjabis. One of my colleagues, Nikesh Arora, SoftBank, he was number 2 in SoftBank. He is a Punjabi. So many Punjabis in SoftBank itself. Then I think the innovations which come out of Punjab, the modernity of attitude, the tech-loving nature of Punjabis, the global attitude of Punjabis, the open and flexible mind to change. I think that's a huge thing for startups. And they're already global. So I think all this is so suitable for startups. I'm telling you, Viniji, you are lucky that you have these things under your belt, and because it's all very appropriate for building the foundation for startups in future. Now, the mission itself is a unique aspect. I feel not many states have run it, and I think it's a very unique mission because it's private and public support, very, very seamless collaboration, as I can feel already, to create a startup ecosystem across universities, institutions, industry, and also encourage young entrepreneurs to incubate new ideas. Whether they succeed or fail doesn't matter. They have to given a chance, a fair chance to incubate new ideas. And that's the most important thing. Failure is actually good because once you fail, you come back and succeed in a bigger way. So I'm not worried about some failures here and there, doesn't matter. These young boys and girls are doing a fantastic job across the world. Personally, I can commit that I will support this mission fully and encourage entrepreneurs through mentorship. I can be a mentor to all the young boys and girls who want to grow. And Ritika was absolutely right that 3 M's: money, market, and of course mentorship. So I'm happy to support it personally as much as possible. I will also encourage my portfolio. Viniji, our portfolio is Paytm, Ola, Uber, Oyo, Snapdeal, of course, Kunal was here, Policy Bazaar, Delivery, Grofers, Lenskart, Swiggy, and many others. We have about 25 companies in India, and we are the largest investors in digital startups in India. And we would like to continue investing in digital startups because digital startups are creating a revolution across the world. And we also have, by the way, Bhavish. Bhavish comes from Ludhiana. He runs Ola, and now he started a new venture called Ola Electric, which is an EV venture. And let me tell you, these are very courageous steps taken by these young entrepreneurs coming from Punjab. And I'm sure all these companies I will personally encourage to grow into Punjab market, to utilize Punjab talent as much as possible, so that really Punjab talent can get the best assignments, best experience across the startup community. Now, I feel that, but Pramod has started and a goal he has taken of top 3. I feel the top 3 goal can be achieved. It's passion of all of us to be together, to run towards this goal. I think Bangalore, Gurgaon have taken a lot of lead, but I think there is a slot free for Chandigarh and Punjab. So let's get that slot free, and maybe once we are number 3, then we can move up to 2 and 1 later. I really feel Pramod is the most appropriate person to lead it because of his experience, his knowledge, and of course his passion. And his enthusiasm rubs off everyone. It rubs off me always, and I can't say no to him. So when he called me, I had to say yes. And I will really like to thank you, Viniji, Mantekji, and of course, Honorable Chief Minister, for your vision, your drive to make this happen. And I think launching the mission is at a very, very right time. I think the iron is hot, and you're launching at the right time. I'd like to really thank all of you and continue this mission with much greater vigor and strength. Thank you, Viniji. Thank you, Mantekji. Thank you, Pramod.
Manoj, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful. Let me ask you a couple of things, if I may. As we think about the global diaspora of Punjabis, Manoj, and as you think about SoftBank and the way it works and the kind of investments it could make in the country, how do you see us best being able to pull all of them in? How can we build that network out in a way that is really exciting? Because what I want to show our startups in Punjab is that we will bring absolutely the best in the world to them. This is not just about bringing local industrialists, but of course, the best of local industry and the best of global industry. So what are the things that we could do to really power that, to make that work really well? Sorry to spring this on you unannounced. And Bobby, thank you for being here. I'm going to ask Bobby Bedi, who's on our board, to also say a few words. Viniji, if that's okay, I asked him to join. But Manoj, just with that question, and thank you again for being here for us. We will need you. We will need your help. We will need your mentorship. And to the extent that you are willing to invest, we will need that as well.
No, thank you, Pramod. I feel that Punjab already has, Chandigarh especially already has many, many ingredients. We just need to get the youth excited. I think it's all about excitement of youth. And we need 1 or 2 success stories, like the success story which was just related to us. I think we need 1 or 2 more and really showcase those success stories. Now, what will happen if these success stories are showcased? The investors will come, mentors will come, and these young talent from all over North India will definitely land up in Chandigarh. And I feel that there is so much already there. So I think it's just a matter of exciting the youth and showcasing some successes.
Absolutely. And that's why Pritika's presence here was so valuable.
Yeah. And we will keep it. I think what she said was so marvelous that she has created something out of nothing. And I'm confident she'll become a big unicorn in times to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Manoj. We are also joined by some of our board members. Bobby Bedi, sitting in his favorite place in the world, in a place called Dalhousie, which I recognize because I've been there so often. And Devinder Brar, who has come. And Bobby, may I turn to you? You're on mute, but if you can, just for a few words, share your thoughts on what we're trying to do as the Innovation Mission, just in a few words before I turn to Vinnie ma'am. And Devinder, may I ask you to go after Bobby?
Yeah, so hi everybody. So I come from a business that is entirely sort of, it's entirely entrepreneurial. The film and music and entertainment business is entirely entrepreneurial. It's not usually sort of unicorn and that level, but I think it's more important to have that widespread belief in entrepreneurship. And I also believe very strongly that apart from the Bombay film industry and the South, the only sort of self-sustaining entertainment business in the country has been Punjab. And Punjab's influence on entertainment throughout the country has been very high, especially from the music and talent perspective. I also know a lot of friends who have done projects and startups over here. So I believe that, it's worth trying to develop a model where we can encourage startup in the music and entertainment media business, not just because it's going to create huge numbers for us, but it will be the one method through which the world will know that we are doing this. Because, the reach of the entertainment business is very large. So, I'm going to focus a lot in trying to advise the mission on how do we kickstart entrepreneurship in a sort of formal, systemized way, helping people get there and increasing this reasonably large number many-fold. It's a simple thing, but it's a biggish objective, and if it works, it will actually have a huge impact on what the mission does.
Absolutely. And Bobby, that's one of the key items to me is to, the strengths of Punjab, to tap into the media entertainment world through people like you, to encourage that kind of entrepreneurship, because it is such a huge industry and it plays dynamically to our strength. I'm also seeing some members of our teams coming through, but I'll thank them separately. Devinder, may I turn to you? You've been part of our board. You've been a huge pioneer, huge CEO across the country, and would love to get your thoughts.
Thank you, Pramod, and Honorable Chief Minister, Chief Secretary Montague, and other members of the board and participants. I was fascinated listening to Kunal and also Pritika. And the thought that was going through my mind was that typically when we talk of startup, an image is getting created that startups means always something to do with technology. And Kunal mentioned several areas in which we can apply technology to agriculture, which is the focus of one of the focus of our Punjab Innovation Mission. And yet, when I was listening to Pritika, I used to buy socks in Italy. I always used to bring socks for myself from Italy because I did not find, good quality socks in India. And such a simple idea, it does not lead. Actually, she left technology to implement a very simple idea of finding a niche, finding a gap in the men's fashion market and created socks. So I think one of our mission objectives would be to pick up these 3 or 4 focus areas which Pramod you enumerated earlier and create focus projects or focus entrepreneurs and make them successes in the shortest possible time to get inputs from all our members and our advisors and showcase those success stories in a short period of time. Like Pritika said, you need those 3 things, and Manoj also said the same thing. And that will then leapfrog into a movement which will create a base of innovation and entrepreneurship in Punjab. That's what I feel, and the areas we have enumerated. But when I was one of the points which is quite currently misnomer in the name of startups is that it always has to be high tech. I think Pritika proved that it need not be high tech. It can be as basic as something like carrying towels to the market.
Absolutely, Devendra. And that's the point. I think that we are going to thrive on. We have to play, and Pritika just to rejoin, we have to play on Punjab's strengths, our strengths in design, media, food, whatever it may be, music. And Pritika, you didn't hear Devendra, but he's your best customer. He used to go shopping for socks in Italy, and now you can grab him here in India. I assure you, he has a big wallet. He has lots of money. He will buy lots of socks. That's the way to go after him. He was just talking about how he would do it. And I think, Devendra, these are the kind of stories that are remarkable.
Yeah, true.
With that, I think we still don't have the Chief Minister. I'm sorry about that. I think he's been involved with, as we all know, many, many different issues that he has to deal with, and perhaps those have delayed him. But with that, Vinny, may I turn to you at this point in time? Once again, I do want to thank our own team, which has worked, by the way, night and day to get us here. So Dilpreet is here, Dilpreeta is here, Anshul is there, Aparna, many others are here. The Invest Punjab team, the startup team, they have been working flat out. I woke up in the middle of the night. They were exchanging messages at 3 a.m. about what's going live on Facebook, what's going where. So they work flat out with the ad factors and other teams. So I do want to thank them. But with that, Vinny, if I may turn to you, I would be grateful. And then Montek, I'll come to you.
Thank you so much, Pramodji, and good evening, Montek sir, and all friends and colleagues here and participants. It's so lovely hearing the eminent speakers here suggest that Punjab's time has come in the startup space. So we do know that Bangalore and Gurgaon got a head start, but perhaps we can leapfrog, learn from what they did wrong, make sure we don't get that kind of traffic here, and so on, and try and get into a superior situation. I was remembering actually the Y2K story, and I was remembering in those days how it used to be kind of suggested that the reason why India did so well in the IT space to begin with was because there was no IT ministry. And the suggestion was that it was the dynamism of our techies, it was their entrepreneurial spirit, and all of that, which got India at that point of time into world repute as the IT brains of the world. But then we did get an IT ministry, right? And perhaps they do or did perform some useful function. So in the government, it's always a challenge to figure out how much of government into business particularly is good for business and for the citizen, and how much is too much. So you keep having these suggestions and arguments around least government, being the best government, and so on. And at the same time, we know that there is a very strong role. Well, there's a strong regulatory role, of course, because a lot of businesses need to be regulated in the interest of industry itself, and certainly in the interest of the consumer, in the interest of other stakeholders, such as the future generations who may suffer the adverse consequences of environmental degradation over time, and so on. But in the IT space, or in now, the new kid on the block, the startup space, how much of government is a good idea? And I think many of us do struggle with that. But for instance, when the Punjab government was working on its new industrial and business development policy,